Alright, good evening, fellow YouTubians. This is the second part of What is America, right? And it's just history. Alright, so yesterday, which was the day before yesterday, we touched on the surface of this modern and seemingly corrupt global system of control based on the laws of the sea, maritime law, martial law, admiralty law, all of which is consent-based and is only enforceable because everyone agrees to it. Everyone else, not me, and a few other people. If you need to know who these people are that enforce these codes, they are the people that you would say are above the law. I'm sure you've heard that. They literally are above the law of the sea, because you're only under the law if you don't understand the law. And when I say the law, and I'm talking, this is the fictitious body of law, body of law of the sea that men willingly subject themselves to. Natural law is law, and it's not something that you can get around. It's internal, right? And the consequences of breaking natural law come in the form of karma. For example, if you steal someone's money and you feel like you won, but the damage done internally, the guilt, the shame, it outweighs the bounty of mammon that you carried off. You see, there are two souls housed within each body. And even if you're stealing of money, like if is the example there, even if you don't recognize that as painful and causing guilt, the other soul that is within your body does. And that other soul is the peace of God within you. You cannot escape it. Stop trying to. Just face it. You have to accept the responsibility and do what's right. Alright. Okay. So, one soul within your body chooses to die for you so that you could live. The Lamb lays down his life willingly. You know that, Son of God, Son of Man. Let's get back to this, though. So, admiralty system of government, right? And this is a big part of what I'm talking about, because this is America. It was invented in the Eastern Mediterranean area, okay? And last time we talked about the Queen of England brought it and implemented it in England and France. But today we see it as an illusory system of governing. We know that it's not real. It's all consensual. And by the admission of the administrators, the government that enforces the maritime law, it's only legitimate because people consent and believe it is legitimate. Now, this modern slave system, right? Admiralty law, that's what it is. It turns you into property, and you are governed by codes. There's a group of people who invented this slave system, okay? And I bet you could guess who it was. Who do you think it was that invented this phony body of law? Guess. You got it. It was the Phoenicians. Interesting, huh? The country of Phoenicia is not a real country, okay? Just like the American flag with the gold fringe around the outside and the two golden tassels, that means admiralty law, and that has no land. That is a country, that is a flag that represents nowhere, just like Phoenicia is. Phoenicia is a strip of land on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, and it runs through Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. They were a multi-ethnic empire. The Phoenicians were the inventors of seaports, trading camps, and a bunch of stuff like that. And that's just more evidence that that's who we're dealing with right now. As strange as it is, the Phoenicians were credited with the first alphabet, and it is closely related to ancient Hebrew. Crazy, huh? They were an empire too. They founded Tyre, Sidon, Byblos, Arwad, and most importantly, the Phoenicians founded Carthage. Until Rome came through. Rome took Phoenicia which isn't really a place, in 64 BC, and Jerusalem in 63 BC. So the year after Rome ransacked Jerusalem, they got Phoenicia. Let me give you this Bible verse, okay, about the princes of the sea. Shit, I think this is in Ezekiel. I should have wrote it down, sorry. This is what the Lord God says to Tyre. Will not the coastlands quake at the sound of your downfall, when the wounded groan at the slaughter in your midst? All the princes of the sea will descend from their thrones, remove their robes, and strip off their embroidered garments. Clothed with terror, they will sit on the ground, trembling every moment, appalled over you. Then they will lament for you, saying, how you have perished, O city of renown, inhabited by seafaring men. She who was powerful on the sea, along with her people, who imposed terror on all peoples. Interesting, huh? Now, how do we know this is about the Phoenicians? And it's simple. Excuse me, hold on. It's really easy to tell, because the very first verse, the very first line of these verses is God. This is what God said to Tyre, Tyre. And who founded Tyre? The Phoenicians. It was a port city. Also, this is addressed to the princes of the sea. The verse says, city of renown, inhabited by seafaring men. Obviously, we're talking about the Phoenicians here. Admiralty law, Phoenicians. They invented it, and now that's what's active in America. So obviously, this is who we're dealing with. Amazing, huh? Now, these are the ones who invented this consensual body of law called Admiralty, which is martial law. It is. It's maritime law. All three are one. Now, this martial law, this is what's active in America right now. Face coverings, curfews, and everybody 6 feet apart. That's martial law. It is. You can't deny that. Yeah, this is what's active in America. Contract-based and consensual. Every decision you make is a contract, whether it's written or verbal. Doesn't matter. I touched on consent in another video. Everything that you do and say implies consent. When you see kids down in the schoolyard, right? You see kids in the schoolyard shooting a little basketball game, and the ball bounces out of the court, right? And you catch the ball and you throw it back, right? You might not think nothing of that, but that action means that you consent to them playing, right? If you didn't want them playing basketball, you wouldn't have threw the ball back. Right, consent is not demonstrating opposition. If you have a problem with martial law, then you will not fall in line with martial law, much like myself. Alright, if you don't agree with something, you need to verbalize and act as though you don't agree with it. If you don't support martial, maritime, admiralty law, go away. Don't make contracts and don't act like you do. You know? Not knowing everything is okay, of course. You know? And I don't know everything, and I try to learn, though. And I try to help others figure it out, too. Right, and when you make a mistake and you realize that you made a mistake, what you do is you fix it. And the legal term to explain what happened is called mistake of law and fact. And it happens. You just state that and then fix it. You need to state that is the case and fix it. But the best thing you can do is wake up every day. Every day when you wake up, be ready to fight. Assume every day you're in court. And you are, because when you die, you're judged. But it's not by these men, these Phoenicians. It's by God. I know this somewhat, and I still make several whatever. which I didn't do it for the sake of the law or anything, but I've never done anything to make people mad at me. But there's a lot of people that they see me coming and they're like, oh, this guy, right? And I watched a little sermon yesterday and it told me why. It's not the person that sees me and they hate seeing me coming, right? Just like when the guy in the Bible, he was possessed by demons and Jesus walked up, right? The demon said, oh no, here's the Son of God, don't torment me. Like, and that's what it is. When people see me coming, they know I'm going to be like, put down the beer, quit acting like that, get your shit together. And they don't want to hear that. Alright. Okay, just wanted to point out where the body of law came from and how it fits perfectly into the biblical timeline right up to now. So, let's deviate for just a minute, alright? The island called Rhodes. You know about the island of Rhodes? The Colossus of Rhodes? The giant statue of a man straddling the entry to the port? Interesting. It's a symbolic birthing. Makes you wonder about the stories of immigrants coming through New York Harbor, huh? They passed the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and such. At least it does me. That's what I think of. In modern times, it was our Statue of Liberty, marking the birth of everyone that came here. They were birthed through the port. It's insane. Yeah, they were birthed into the port and were merchandised. So, another interesting thing, right? And this is kind of ironic. The Statue of Liberty, which is the sister, I guess you could say, of the Colossus of Rhodes, was erected in 1886. It's just interesting. The Colossus of Rhodes, the island of Rhodes, was also taken by Rome in 88 BC. Once Rome took the island here, they adopted the Rhodanian maritime law. Rome did a lot, man. They did some stuff. But the thing about these laws, right, and these codes and statutes and stuff that we operate under now, that people operate under now, because I don't, they're not laws. They're just codes. They're not laws at all. And there's no reason you should listen to them unless you choose to serve men. Codes are not laws, okay? Laws are eternal. They don't change. They do not change ever. They're eternal. They're the same now, tomorrow, and always, right? Codes are part of a body of law that man made. Men are not eternal, and their codes are not either. In fact, these codes, they change with time, which is just another reason why I don't follow them. I follow these codes from the outside, right? I see them making them and implementing them and enforcing them and shit, but I don't obey them. I won't. There's a lot that would happen to me before I bowed to these people. So, Admiralty law in America, martial law, right? It's implemented and invoked into our societies under national emergency. That's how they do it. What they do is they issue the national emergency, and then they sign like 12 bills that go against the Constitution that they wouldn't be able to sign otherwise, right? So they have to declare a national emergency to do this illegal stuff. The first national emergency was like half of a national emergency. It was issued by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War in 1861. The reason for this emergency, the reason it's separate, is because Lincoln didn't really want to, he didn't want to go overboard. It wasn't a complete declaration, so to speak. Later down the line, we have the first actual complete national emergency to be declared was Woodrow Wilson, right? And here's why. This is a quote. "I have found that there exists a national emergency arising from the insufficiency of maritime tonnage to carry the products of the farms, forests, mines, and manufacturing industries of the United States to their consumers abroad and within the United States. Alright. Interesting, ain't it? How that makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Now, it may very well be a coincidence, right, that the first national emergency was maritime. Or it could be indicative of something bigger, okay? This is absolutely biblical, right? There's two forces going back and forth. It's God and the people that don't want to serve God. They want you to serve them. This is before Christ even, because, you know, like I said, I believe the island of Rhodes was in power from like 800 BC to 300 BC. So Jesus was born into the middle of this stuff. This is an awesome topic to look into, and fortunately it's right up my alley, you know, because I do, sorry, one sec. Okay. I do natural law, like God's law, biblical doctrine, and all ancient texts really, and psychology, right? Those are the things I love, and that's why I do this. The funny thing is, all three of those, natural law, psychology, and biblical doctrine, they're all three one thing, okay? They're all basically psychology, but they're also all three natural law, and they're all three biblical doctrine, but whatever. I study, like you know how people like watch TV most of the day? That's how I study. I study like 16 hours a day. Not like the Truther kind of study where they just find a topic like a rabbit hole with a fucking Disney movie, and then they spend 6 years looking into one. I don't do that. That's nonsense. Those are just ways to trap your attention for days, weeks, or months. Hell, I know some people, right? They found these rabbit holes and they dove into them, and now they just live in this fucking rabbit hole, and that's just part of who they are now. It's crazy. They integrated the information into their personality, into who they are, and it's just, that's who they are now. You know, I'm sure you know somebody like that. They're permanently distracted, right? And when serious issues like the Vatican laying claim to every living thing on the earth come up, they can't even, the faculties ain't there to explore that because they're so worried about the secret meaning behind Alice in Wonderland. You know what I mean? I'm sure everybody knows somebody like that. I used to be like that. But the thing is, I didn't hold on to it. I explored it. And after a while, I realized that the esoteric meaning behind all the Disney movies was the same. And so I let it go and moved on. Like, if you jump in a rabbit hole, that's one thing. But to stay there, that's another. It's not good. But that's it. This was the second part of What is America Legally? Part 2. Love you guys. I'll see you soon.